hospital just slides off the foundation. Like butter falling off a piece of toast. Just slides right off. Somebody turn that faucet off. Where am I? What happened to me? And Cloud, where'd Cloud go? Huh? What? Who? Who's there? I can't understand what you're saying. Is that Kefka? What? I've got nothing to do with that. You're wrong. That wasn't me. I'd never do something like that. Not the frogs. No, stay away. Stop trying to get inside me. Somebody help, please. Cloud, please, I need you. Yeah. I don't really know what's happening there either. Like, so like, if we're to believe the compilation, Aerith is protecting Cloud and Tifa here so that Tifa can enter Cloud's mind. But I suppose that's like before she gets to Cloud's mind, and she's just in the live stream freaking out. I don't know if she's like hallucinating or it's the voices of the live stream, but like, why are the voices of the live stream like mad at her? Like, why are they like telling her she's bad and stuff? Wouldn't it just be like a bunch of voices talking about the knowledge of the ancients or something? Like, why is she getting yelled at? I'm not sure. The planet knows what she did. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, no Rebirth spoilers, but given what happened in Rebirth, I think they are, at the very least, going a different route with this scene. But we don't know for sure. They could literally do this scene one-to-one in part 3, and it would still make sense. But it seems like they might try to do something slightly different here. So I guess we'll see. But I think it's just kind of, I think they took some liberties, and it's more of just like, whoa, the live stream's crazy and stuff, and it drives you crazy, and you're not supposed to be in here. So Tifa's just kind of going crazy. I don't know if there's really supposed to be a very specific answer. I also, as much as I like the compilation, I don't really know how much I like the explanation that Aerith is like protecting them here. It makes total sense, and I think it's probably good for the overall canon that there's like an actual reason why this all works. But I don't know. I don't really think it's required. I think it's kind of cool that they fall into the live stream, but like the power of their friendship and love gives Tifa the power to like save Cloud. I don't really need like a very specific reason as to why this happens, you know? I think the whole game leads up to this point, and it just kind of makes sense that it works. But I'm probably not. I'm sure there's plenty of people that were like, yeah, but wouldn't Tifa just also get poisoned? So it makes sense that they came up with a reason, but yeah, I don't need a reason why this works. I think it's just the story leads up to this, and then this is what happens. Where am I? Cloud? What's wrong, Cloud? What is all this? Are we inside your dreams? Or is this your consciousness? You're searching, aren't you, Cloud? Searching for yourself. I can help you look. We'll do it together, Cloud. We'll bring the real you back. But where do we start? The gates of Nibelheim. I passed through them 5 years ago with Sephiroth. That's when it all began. This path, it leads to Nibelheim? Right, that's probably the best place to start. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if they actually go all in on the Aerith explanation on part 3. Because they don't have to. That was part of the compilation. In fact, not even really compilation. It was a novel written. I mean, it's an official novel, but yeah. It's not like it happened in Crisis Core or something. It's like a novel. So, but I'd be curious to see if they go with that explanation or if they just go a completely different route. Let's go have a look, Cloud. I know it won't be easy, but I'll be right here with you. Like I said, I don't really need an explanation. If they fell into the live stream and then this scene happened and then they just washed up on shore and they were fine, I'd be like, that's fine. I don't need a reason why they can like get out of the live stream alive. Cloud, look. There's the water tower. And there's that old geezer's inn. But they could actually go super hard with this scene, and they could have like this whole thing where Cloud is like wrestling with Aerith being dead even more. And then like they have like, or even like that it's never like revealed, like he doesn't even like know exactly what happened, and so he's just like freaking out the whole time all the way up to this point. And then, yo, subs, thank you for the raid. And then we get to this point, and there's this whole like moment with like Aerith where she's like, I finally figured out what's going on, and like me and Zach and you and Tifa, and there could be like a whole moment with like the three of them, instead of it just being like, well, this is what happened and it makes sense, but actually have like a moment with Tifa and Cloud and Aerith where they like talk. They could go like crazy with it, or they could just do the same thing. The only truck in town. They'd been there since we were kids, right? This is the Nibelheim of your memories, right? Well, it's the same as my Nibelheim, which makes this our Nibelheim. "5 years ago, 2 soldiers came to town. Sephiroth and another man, a young, upbeat soldier. Can you show me one more time what happened back then?" Also, the whole thing with like Tifa talking to Cloud and Cloud showing his memories and then Tifa like fixing them could be done really cool. So, 5 years ago, it was the first time I ever saw him in person. Tell me, how does it feel? I have no home, so I wouldn't know. You still got parents though, right? Sephiroth, the great war hero. The best of the best. You looked up to him more than anyone else. But to tell you the truth, all I could think about was how cold he seemed. Why am I talking about this? Come on, let's go. I remember having this bad feeling about him. Yeah, the mind screwy stuff is so much better in Remake as well, because they can do so much more with it. No, Cloud, that's not how it happened. Although I don't know if I want to say better, because like in Remake, there's a lot of mind screw stuff and it's done really well, but there's something about the mind screw stuff with like these old PS1 models that like really affects you in a special way. It kind of reminds me of like retro game creepypastas, you know? How like, yeah, you can make like a scary movie, but there's something even creepier about like old technology being creepy. Like playing a scary NES game or like Sonic EXE or just like these things that shouldn't be able to come alive. They're just a retro bunch of bits, but like somehow, or like all the Mario 64 creepypastas, like cursed VHS tapes. Yeah, there's something about retro technology and like scary stuff that just goes together so well. That whole like vibe. So the thought of having a PS1 game like do spooky stuff is great. And the way that the models freak out. I always loved, one of my favorite animations in this game is when Cloud is in the temple and he's freaking out, and it has like multiple Cloud models all stacked on top of each other, and his head is like freaking out, and he's doing like a bunch of poses and stuff. Like that's such a great effect that you don't really get in newer games. In newer games, it's all done so well that it just looks scary, but you can't really like, I don't know, there's something special about having it be limited to what they could do. Almost makes it scarier. I've kept quiet for so long, I thought if I spoke up about it, something terrible would happen. But I'm done hiding the truth. Yeah, it's got like an uncanny valley feel, whereas now it's too easy to make stuff scary, like too easy to kind of give that, do the right animations and stuff. And that's how like Resident Evil did it so well too, because just the lack of sound, the lack of music, all of it being very like, what's the right word, like sterile almost, where it's just you're running down the hallway and all you really hear is like the footsteps of your character and the slight groan of a zombie, and you know, it's like less is more a lot with horror. You weren't there, Cloud, 5 years ago. You never came to Nibelheim. I was expecting for you, Cloud, expecting you to come, but you didn't. The two soldiers Shinra sent to the village were Sephiroth and someone else. Come on, let's go. So the soldier who visited Nibelheim was Sephiroth, with Sephiroth, wasn't me? There's nothing else I can say. You have to find the answer for yourself. If you don't, you'll never... It's okay, Cloud. Easy does it. Slow and steady, okay? Yo, Omni. The 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much, man. And again, thank you, subs, for the raid, man. Appreciate it. The starry sky, the water tower, the promise we made that night. What if it's all a lie, a false memory? Don't rush things, Cloud. You'll find the answer eventually. No need to force yourself. Just keep paying attention to how you feel. Every little feeling is another step back to you. Remember, slow and steady. Like the sky that night, it was so full of stars. From the beginning, okay? Think back, Cloud. My favorite is the zoom in on the window. Right, that's the outfit I was wearing. And there you are. You were so short back then. And cute. Sephiroth said something before. Man, that's such a cool effect with the two Tifas. Like, I could just imagine it in Remake. The young Tifa and old Tifa sitting next to each other, and they both, like, look over at Cloud. He said you made this memory up to match what I told you. But you imagined this guy all by yourself. No, not imagined. Remembered. The stars were so beautiful that night. It was just you and me. We talked here on top of the water tower. You even remembered the promise we made. Which is why no matter what happened, I kept on believing you were the real Cloud. And I still do. I still believe you're the Cloud I knew in Nibelheim. The problem is, you don't. This memory alone isn't enough to convince you. In that case, what about something else you remember? No, not remember. When you remember, you have to forcibly dredge the memory up, which is why it can sometimes be wrong, change shape. That's different from feeling a memory deep in your heart. A memory like that, a memory you feel, could never be fake, if only we could find one. Oh, I know. What about a memory somehow related to me? We'll do it the other way around this time. You tell me one of your memories, then I'll see if it stirs one inside me, too. If it does, that'll mean it's our memory. Let's give it a shot. Try telling me about a memory you have. Any'll do, so long as it's one you cherish. How about becoming a soldier? What made you want to be one so bad? It always seemed to me like such a sudden decision. I was frustrated. I wanted to be accepted, to be recognized. I thought if I got stronger, there'd be no way that... You wanted to be recognized? By who? Who? Isn't it obvious? That you, that's who. I wanted to be recognized by you. Me? But why? Tifa, did you forget what happened? What happened? Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. That's okay, it was a terrible time for you, Tifa. You had so much on your plate, it's only natural you don't remember what happened with me back then. Back then? That memory, I cherish it. It caused me so much frustration, so much regret, and yet I wouldn't trade it for anything. Want to see it? Hey, wait! A secret wish sealed inside, a precious desire no one can know. Do you know where this window leads to? No? I'll show you. Yeah, this animation's so cool. And the fact that it's done in engine, like, you can run around during it. This is my room? That day was my first time actually entering. It was? I'd only ever gazed up at it from outside. Guys, check it out! Cloud's coming over. You think he wants to hang with us? That was the first time you ever came inside my room? I remember now. We lived right next to each other, but I never really knew you that well. All this time I thought we used to be friends ever since we were little. But now that I think about it, I don't remember you ever being in my room. I don't even recall us playing together. The only memory I have of you begins at that water tower under the stars. You always used to hang around with these three. I remember. I thought you were all idiots. Huh? You were always laughing at the stupidest things like a bunch of kids. But we were kids. I know, it was me who was the idiot. Deep down, I really wanted to play with you all, but I could never bring myself to ask. Eventually, I started to think I was different from the rest of you, that I wasn't just an immature kid. Even so, I thought that maybe you'd notice me, call out to me. That's why I loitered around, hoping you'd invite me over. But I was such a downer, so moody, so weak. That night I asked you to meet me at the water tower. I was sure you wouldn't come. I was sure you hated my guts. Right, you asked me out of nowhere. I kinda couldn't believe it. Although, it's not like we were strangers. Sure, we weren't close, but I thought about you a lot after you left the village. I really did. I used to wonder how you were doing, and if you'd managed to become a soldier. I thought there was a chance you'd be in the news, so I started reading the papers. Funny, huh? Thanks, Tifa. You should tell him that later. I know he'll be happy to hear it. I will, but didn't you say something happened this day? Was there something special about it? There was. This was the day your mother, the day Mom died. I want to see Mom again. I love that part where the music stops. That mountain, I wonder what's on the other side. Mount Nabel's seriously scary. Don't you know how many people have died on it? No one alive's ever got across. Then what about the dead? What if Mom's on the other side? I'm going. I've got to try. Wonder if there was ever like a plan to show them falling. I can't remember where we were walking or how we'd gotten there. All I know is at some point you lost your footing. I tried to rush over and help, but I was too late. We both ended up falling down a cliff. I made it through with just a couple of scraped knees back then, but you... Cloud, how could you bring Tifa to a place like this? Honestly, what were you thinking? How were you gonna protect her if something happened? You were in a coma for a whole week after that. I thought you might die. If only I'd rescued you in time. I was so frustrated, so disappointed with myself. I couldn't do anything for you. I hated how weak I was. And from then on, I always felt like you blamed me. I got really on edge, started picking fights with people over nothing. It was around that time I first heard about Sephiroth. I wanted to become strong like him. I thought if I did, then everyone would... If I could just become strong, then even you'd have to recognize me. So that's why. I'm sorry, Cloud. I should have remembered what happened back then. If I had, maybe I could have done something sooner. No, it's not your fault, Tifa. It's mine. But wait a minute. We were only 8 years old back then. That's it. We found our memory. You weren't created 5 years ago, Cloud. Because that memory, that day from our childhood engraved in your heart, that's something no one could fabricate. Hang in there, Cloud. Just a little further. We're gonna find the real you. I think it's time we go back to Nibelheim. The truth is just up ahead. A little longer and we'll have our answer. Yes, the original plan was for Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith to be a love triangle, but Cloud to end up with Tifa, and Zack and Aerith are obviously together. But there's, of course, a lot of Aerith stans who like the idea of Cloud being with Aerith, which is totally fine. You can interpret the story however you want. That's the point of having a story, is that people interpret it different ways. But the general idea of the story is that Cloud and Tifa are meant to be together. Or at least the plot of the game. But you can interpret it however you want. Video games are meant to be interpreted. Yeah. Say either or on Twitter if you want to get destroyed by the other side. Doesn't matter what you say. Be killed either way. Cloud, wait. Where do we go now? The reactor? Yeah, to the reactor. To the reactor 5 years ago. He was meant to end up with Barrett. But yeah, the original, like, way back when the story was just being started, Tetsuya, I believe, wanted to have, like, a love triangle. Like, that was one of the main concepts of the game, was he wanted to have a love triangle. He didn't want to do a typical hero, princess, love interest thing. He wanted to do something different in terms of the main love interest. So that was like one of the main concepts of the game when it first started. And then they were trying to figure out like how it was going to work. With like Aerith dying. Because they didn't know off the bat that Aerith was going to die either. So you could easily make the argument that like at one point it was meant to be Cloud either ends up with Tifa or Aerith. Like, you could totally make that argument. Because when they first started writing the story, it was, they wanted to have a love triangle, and they wanted somebody to die. And it was either going to be Cloud's best friend, quote unquote, which ended up being Barrett, who is, like, not really a best friend, but, like, becomes his best friend, I guess, but whatever. The idea was either his friend dies or his love interest dies, and they were trying to decide which it was going to be. So there was more than likely a moment in the development of the game where there was a love triangle, but they hadn't decided who was going to die yet. So you could make the argument that at some point in development, Cloud could have ended up with Aerith, like actually, officially in the plot. But then they decided to have Aerith die instead of Barrett. So then that became like, okay, so Cloud's going to end up with Tifa. Who is Aerith? Like, what are we going to do with Aerith? And then they created the character of Zack, and then it all kind of fell into place. But no, you could totally make the argument that at some point in development, it was supposed to just be a love triangle, and it was supposed to just be up to the player who Cloud ended up with. Also, there was like a lot of weird stuff with Aerith, where, yeah, like Odysseus said, at one point they were going to be one character. At one point, she was going to be Sephiroth's like brother. At one point, they even thought about Aerith being Sephiroth's lover before like Zack was a thing, and that was going to be how the love triangle worked. Could you imagine, like, at some point in development, depending on how things worked out, because we don't really know, like, when these things happened, but at some point in development, there was a chance that Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith were going to be a love triangle, and Sephiroth and Aerith were going to be a thing. So there could have been a moment where, like, Cloud and Sephiroth were fighting over Aerith in a way, and then, like, Tifa was just there. Like, probably not, because I think at that point, Tifa and Aerith were probably still one character. But, yeah. Imagine that. Imagine that universe where, like, Tifa and Aerith were split, but then Aerith was, like, actually a love interest of Sephiroth's, and then Cloud and Sephiroth were, like, fighting over Aerith. Holy cow. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways it could have gone. No, I don't think so, Rarigo. I think that was more of just a creative decision to, like... I'm glad, I don't want to, no Rebirth spoilers, but I'm glad that they really toned back the Whisper thing in Rebirth, because in my personal opinion, I think what happened is they went too hard on the Whispers, and they even realized that because they toned back on them so much in Rebirth. But I think they just really, like, for some reason, they just had it in their head that they were like, we have to make sure that the players understand what the Whispers are. Almost like they did some, like, focus groups, and the focus groups were just like, we don't understand the Whispers. Because they went so hard, they, like, every scene in the game, they're trying to explain to us what the Whispers are. And you can, you figure it out, like, in the second scene, like, the second time you see them, you're like, okay, I get it. And then they just, the whole game, they're just like, did you know that the Whispers are, did you know? Like, and I think the whole Barrett scene was them trying to, once again, like, tell the player, like, this is what the Whispers are. So I think that's all that was. I don't think it's connected to that. The Barrett potentially being one of the characters to die was so early in development that, like, I don't think that's something they would reference. Maybe, though. Maybe the Barrett death scare is actually, like, a reference to that original thing, but that was so early in development. I've only ever seen, like, one real, like, quote on that. I don't even think there's any, like, there isn't, like, any documents or, like, concept art of Barrett dying or anything, like, nothing like that. It was just literally, they knew they wanted somebody to die. They knew that very early in development, and then they were just trying to decide, is it going to be Cloud's friend or is it going to be Cloud's love interest? And then when they fleshed out the story, they were like, okay, we have this martyr character who's going to die to save the planet, so obviously it's going to be his love interest. And then Aerith was created, and then Tifa and Aerith, like Odysseus said, was one character at one point, but then they split it so that Cloud could still have a love interest afterwards. And then I don't think there's any, like, actual writing on this, but in my mind, they realized that they wanted Cloud to have a love interest other than the one that dies. So Tifa becomes, like, the main love interest, quote unquote, with her being his childhood friend. And then they had to do something with Aerith, so then Zack made sense, and then it all kind of, like, fell into place. But yeah, like I said, it's all up to interpretation. There's nothing out there saying, like, this is exactly what was meant to be the whole time or anything. It's all up to interpretation, but yeah, it's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff. Like I said, I love the fact that there's some kind of weird universe where Cloud and Sephiroth were fighting over Aerith, and then, like, imagine how that would play out. Like, that's why Sephiroth kills Aerith, because he, like, loves her, but she loves Cloud, so they can't be together. So, like, Sephiroth kills her, and then that's, like, how the story starts. It could be crazy. That could actually be kind of, like, I imagine, like, Sephiroth and Aerith fall in love during, like, the Wutai War or something. And then Sephiroth learns the truth about himself and goes crazy, but Aerith doesn't want to follow him into Crazy Town. So she abandons him, but then Cloud and Aerith become a thing, and then Sephiroth gets angry and kills Aerith, but then Aerith ends up being the Cetra that, like, ends up foiling his plans, and, like, the whole reason that Sephiroth's plans got foiled is because he killed her, so, like, his own jealousy is what ruins him. Like, there's a story here. Like, this could work. I'm writing the fan fiction as we speak. Average plot. What? What? Huh? That's not you. What about Zach? Who's Zach? Zach. You remembered. That's right. The other soldier who came to Nibelheim with Sephiroth was Zach. So then, where were you, Cloud? I was saving your dumb self. Cloud, you saw all this happen? I saw everything. Best part of the game. My mom, Tifa, our village, give them back. I respected you. I looked up to you. I wanted to be you. Cloud? So that's where you were. That whole time. You were right there looking after me. I remember now. That trooper, it was you. Hey, Cloud, still feeling sick? Try taking the helmet off. Right. Yeah, that's me. Not a soldier, just a regular old trooper. I never made the cut. And after all that yapping I did before leaving home, yapping is now officially in Final Fantasy VII, I was so embarrassed I couldn't let anyone see me. So, home sweet home, right? God, I just love how all the little pieces fall into place. Like Sephiroth's dialogue, him laying there. You came and saved me when I was in trouble. How's it going, lady? Sorry, I should have got there sooner. That's alright, Cloud. All the little pizzas fall into the plates. How dare you! There you go, lady. Cloud, finish Sephiroth off. Sephiroth. Don't test me. No, impossible. Thank you, Anonymous, by the way, for the gifted sub. Yeah, I'm really curious how they're going to do that part, because they've changed that part multiple times already in compilation. So it really feels like they don't want that part to be like that. Like, of all the scenes in this entire game, it feels like that's the scene they really want to change. Because they keep trying to change it slowly. Like, every time they redo it, they add something or change it slightly. In Crisis Core, it happens in the room with Jenova. In the stupid Last Order thing, Sephiroth jumps in himself. Like, every single compilation thing, they, like, try to tell it a slightly different way. So, I feel like in Remake, they're just going to totally redo it or something. Seems like they hate that scene for some reason. It makes so little sense to me that Sephiroth would jump in himself. Like, I don't, like, why? Like, well, I talk about it a bunch in the Sephiroth in-depth look, but, like, for me, there's no way that he would understand that jumping into the life stream would make him stronger at that moment. Once he falls in the life stream, I think Jenova's head, like, gets to, you know, like, because he falls in with Jenova's head, Jenova takes over and is like, hey, I can show you how to use the life stream to your advantage. But, like, before that, he has no idea that doing that would not just kill him. So, like, doesn't make any sense for him to just jump in. So, but I don't know. In Remake, Sephiroth seems like he is maybe more all-knowing before even Nibelheim, so, like, maybe it would make more sense in Remake. But I don't know. I'm cool with them redoing that scene. I like the way it's done, but also, like, they could change it as long as it's cool. I think the moment that Cloud, like, gets superpowers, I think that needs to stay, because that's one of my favorite, like, mysteries of the game that's never truly explained. And especially in Remake, I think there'd be a really great moment there that they could create. So I hope that's still there. But other than that, I don't really mind if they change it a little bit or whatever. The whole, like, Cloud grabs the sword and pulls Sephiroth up, and Sephiroth could simply just let go of the sword, but he doesn't. Like, we could change that because that's goofy. They could instead be like, Sephiroth stabs him, and then he grabs the sword and, like, pulls it out of himself and turns it around on him or something. Like, they could do it in a cooler way. I genuinely think that him picking up the sword and throwing him was kind of just because they were limited in what they could do. Like, they couldn't have Cloud pull the sword out of his stomach, flip it around. Like, there was only so many animations they could do with the models they had. So, like, they couldn't do some really sick movement. So I think just they were like, what's the easiest way for him to look really cool? And they were like, oh, what if he grabs the blade of the sword? You know, and that was something they could do with the models. So I genuinely don't think that was the reason that wasn't their plan from the start, was like, he's going to grab the blade while Sephiroth's holding onto the handle and pull him up. I think that was just the coolest thing they could do with what they had. So if they changed that, I'd be fine with that. Yeah, dude, have him like power up and Omni slash him right there or something. I don't know. Could be cool. Yeah, but see, they were stuck. Like, once they made Advent Children, the original was already made, so they didn't want to change it too much. But yeah, obviously in Advent Children, they could have done whatever they wanted, but they wanted to keep it close-ish to the original. but... Well, wait. Advent Children? Does he do it in Advent Children? Do they show that exact scene in Advent Children? Why am I not remembering that? I don't remember when that is. Similar scene. Okay. See, like, I remember the Crisis Core and I remember the Last Order. I have the Blu-ray version. I'll have to go back and look. It's not coming to me at the moment. Cloud. Well, guess I've got to say goodbye. It's the only way we can meet again. This is also such a cool animation that you could only really do on the PS1 version. I'm sure they'll do something really cool in the remake, but there's something so special about this, like seeing all the models combine and like the sound effects. Elevator button sound effect. Cloud. Ooh, ah. Tifa. Oh, Cloud, it's really you. Tifa, we finally meet again. Stupid jerk, you had us all worried sick. Ah! Cloud, are you alright? Voices, so many. I'd almost forgotten, we're still inside the live stream. Come on, everyone's waiting. Let's go home, Cloud, back to the others. Yeah, you're right, let's go home, Tifa, together. And then we just learn how to fly somehow. Whee!